Picture this. It's 2012. Evernote hits $1 billion valuation. The elephant logo is everywhere. The CEO writes a cover story asking if Evernote is worth more than the New York Times. He argues that yes, it is, because it could be worth $100 billion in a few years. Fast forward a decade, and Evernote is a zombie. It's slow, bloated, and hemorrhaging users. The company that was supposed to be the Nike for your brain became the app you forgot you had installed. This is the story of bending spoons, and it begins not with a success, but with a graveyard. Evernote, AOL, Vimeo, WeTransfer. These aren't failed startups. They are once loved apps that shaped how millions of people work and create. They are apps that everyone uses, but nobody loves anymore. They're broken, not technically, but in the way a beautiful old building is broken, neglected and under-resourced. And that's where Bending Spoons comes in. The company that owns these apps has never launched a single original product. It has never invented anything. It's not in Silicon Valley. It's in Milan, and it's worth $11 billion. Let me take you back to 2010. 4 friends in Copenhagen had one terrible idea. They built an app called Evertale, an AI-powered photo-sharing diary. They raised venture capital, believed in it, and worked 80-hour weeks. And then it failed spectacularly. The venture investors didn't just lose money, they sold their shares back to the founders for $1 each. The message was clear: this company is worthless. But the founders didn't walk away. They had $40,000 left in the bank. The CEO, Luca Ferrari, got a part-time job at McKinsey and used his salary to pay his county founders rent and food. They kept working, and then they had a realization. They weren't good at inventing products people wanted, they were good at fixing products people already loved. So in 2013, they took $10,000 of that $40,000 and bought a broken iOS keyboard personalization app. They fixed it, doubled their money, and then did it again. That's when they named the company Bending Spoons, after a scene in The Matrix where a boy bends a spoon with his mind. The idea was to bend the impossible into reality. They moved back to Italy, bootstrapped the company, and didn't raise venture capital for a decade. By 2025, they were valued at $11 billion, all without a single original product. This is not a Silicon Valley story. This is an Italian story, and it's about to reshape how the world thinks about technology. Here's what most people don't understand about private equity. They buy companies to sell them. In 3 to 7 years, they flip them for a profit. Bending Spoons plays a different game entirely. They buy broken apps to hold forever, and they've never sold a single acquisition. When you know you're going to own something for 20 years, you don't cut corners, you rebuild it from the foundation up. Here's their 4-step playbook. Step 1 is to buy low. They target apps with loyal users but bloated costs, buying them at distressed valuations, typically 1 to 3 times revenue. Next, they strip and centralize. This is where it gets brutal. They move the entire operation to Milan, consolidating everything onto a shared platform, which cuts 70 to 80% of overhead. Step 3 is to rebuild. They deploy their strike teams of young coders and data scientists to rewrite the product from scratch if necessary. For Evernote, they released 75 product improvements in the first year alone. Finally, they monetize aggressively and hold forever. They run 1,000 pricing tests per week, restrict free tiers, and raise prices. Yes, some users leave, but retention stays near all-time highs because the product got better, not worse. This isn't private equity or venture capital. This is something new, like a Berkshire Hathaway model for software. Let's talk about the most counterintuitive thing about Bending Spoons. They run a $1.2 billion revenue company with only 700 people. For context, Evernote, Vimeo, and WeTransfer, plus 15 other companies, used to require over 2,000 employees combined. How do they do it? Through ruthless hiring. In 2025, Bending Spoons received 800,000 job applications and hired 250 people. That's a 0.03% acceptance rate, making them 10 to 100 times more selective than Google or Amazon. They don't hire for experience, they hire for raw talent and obsessive drive. And it works. Their voluntary turnover rate is about 1% per year, compared to the industry average of 10 to 15%. First, they pay. Salaries in Milan are comparable to London, which is like getting Goldman Sachs-level compensation in a city where the cost of living is half that of San Francisco. Second, they eliminate the corporate theater. There are no performance bonuses, no fancy job titles, and no hierarchical nonsense. Third, they're transparent. Every candidate gets a document called the Controversial Principles, which outlines exactly what they expect. The result is an organization where 700 people do the work that used to require 2,000. This is a structural advantage, and it's how you build an empire. Here's what most people miss about Bending Spoons. This is just the beginning. In late 2025, they executed one of the most audacious 48-hour periods in European tech history. They acquired AOL for about $1.4 billion, raised $2.8 billion in debt, raised $710 million in equity, and hit an $11 billion valuation, becoming Italy's first tech decacorn. But that's not the story. The story is what comes next. CEO Luca Ferrari has told investors they could spend up to $2 billion on acquisitions in 2026 alone. They have a pipeline of 5,000 potential targets and are planning a US IPO on the NYSE. Their revenue is projected to grow from $392 million in 2023 to $1.23 billion in 2025. And the fascinating part is they're doing it with AI. Bending Spoons has built over 50 proprietary AI and data tools. They use AI to handle 80% of customer support, detect bugs, and predict user behavior. They aren't chasing AI hype. They're using AI for the unglamorous work of running a business: support, operations, and optimization. They own distribution, audiences, and data. Now they own the tools to extract maximum value from all three. This is Berkshire Hathaway for bits. This is the future of tech consolidation, and it's just getting started.